Welcome to the first episode of the ID10T podcast. That has a nice ring to it. Technically episode 930. More about the numbering system in a minute. First, I'd like to thank 1-800-Flowers for sponsoring this episode of the ID10T podcast. It's very thrilling to live dangerously, but it is very dangerous to wait until the last minute to buy a Valentine's Day gift. You know what? When I was a kid, I tended to like to wait until the last night when a report was due, like right before, because I really craved the pressure. But this kind of pressure is not, it's so avoidable. Make this happen. Do it right. Win Valentine's Day with 1-800-Flowers.com. 1-800-Flowers will have your back in a tight situation. They will be there for you. So right now you can get 18 enchanted roses for only $29.99, which is an amazing offer at 1-800-Flowers. So when it comes to Valentine's, don't settle for anything less than your Rose Authority, 1-800-Flowers.com, to order 18 enchanted roses for only $29.99. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, enter the code ID10T. That is ID10T. I'm sure you probably figured that out by now. You're looking at it on your phone. Valentine's Day is almost here. Order today, 1-800-Flowers.com. Use the promo code ID10T. It is the first ID10T podcast. I did 929 Nerdist podcasts. I don't want to start the numbers over. It'll fuck up the whole library. It's going to be annoying for people to see that in their feed. It is basically the same podcast, just with a different skin. So it's just going to be cleaner and easier if I just say this is the first ID10T podcast, and you'll know that that is episode 930. And we'll just go from there, 930, 931, all the way up. Because you know what? I really want to get to 1,000 podcasts. I mean, I'm going to do more than that, but I don't want to start over at one. It took a lot to get here. We just had our 8-year anniversary, for crap's sake. And now I want to talk about the couple changes. This is going to be a little longer than normal, this intro, so I apologize, but I want to thank Janet Varney, who came back and slightly tweaked the intro and outro for us. She did the now entering Nerdist.com, and so that'll be fun. Then I want to thank her for that, and you just listen to the JV Club podcast and watch everything she's in, because she's one of the funniest people I know. Also, theme song, Anna Monoguchi, Jetpack Blues, Sunset Hues, synonymous with the Nerdist podcast. They let us use that song for 8 years. I want to thank them. It is from the album Dawn Metropolis. It is available. You can buy it. You should buy it. But I felt like it was time to have a new theme song. I just thought, like with a slight retooling and rebranding, that made sense. So I asked my friend Jonah Ray of Jonah Radio and sometimes Nerdist Podcast, hey, Jonah, you seem to know music. You have a haircut that suggests you know cool bands. And he said, hey, check out my friends who are in the band Fart Barf, which is the best name for a band. I know you're saying that. I'm just telling you that I agree. So they have a song that I listened to their album, and they have a song on their album Dirty Power from 2014, which is called Hero of Time. And thematically, I thought that was perfect. It's almost kind of Whovian, and also it's like time. We're time heroes because we've lasted this long. And so I picked it, and I think it'll give you it'll give you a nice flave of Jetpack Blues, Sunset Hues, but it's kind of a new vibe, and I really love it. So I'm excited about that. So thanks to Fart Barf for allowing me to use their song Hero of Time as the ID10T podcast theme going forward. Also, I started the ID10T Twitter handle and the ID10T Instagram handle because social media is a thing, y'all. It's important because our personal websites are dead. Social media killed them. So social media is where we reach you, the audience. Before we get to the corkboard, which, yes, there is still a corkboard, but before we get to that, I just want to say thank you. I really, really, really need to say thank you because when I announced the podcast was changing names last week, probably seemed very sudden to you, was not very sudden to me. I was freaking the fuck out about it, and I think pretty unanimously people on social media that I saw said to me, like, yeah, it's a name change. Exactly what Matt said. So I did what I do best, which is to obsess on a detail and freak out about it and catastrophize it. But, it's partially because I care about this show, and I care about you. We are in a relationship of sorts, and it is important to me that you feel supported because you support the podcast. So we are in an ecosystem of support. At least, that's what my hope. And so, I want to thank you for mitigating all of the anxiety and the trauma that I was feeling. And, whatever. I know it's a podcast. It's not the most important thing in the world, but it is a thing that we all are involved in. And I made a deal with you guys 8 years ago when we started this. Like, I'll be here for you every week as long as it's fun. And this is making it fun. Refreshing the podcast is making it fun. The only other slightly small change is that we've added a sponsor to the opening intro. So there'll be a short one at the top and then 2 at the end of the intro. That is not to assault you with ads or make you feel like I'm taking advantage of your time, but it is, it's a thing. It is a thing to do as I've broken away and become independent with the podcast. It is a thing that I need to do. So it's not to take advantage of your time or try to be greedy, but it's going to help keep the podcast free and be able to bring the people over that I brought over with me and make sure they are fairly compensated for their time, and also help build up all the ID10T stuff, of which there is a lot of fun stuff coming down the pipeline that I'm excited to announce in the coming months. So again, thank you, and I hope you understand. And now let's talk about the ID10T community corkboard. Just keeping it rolling. So this is from Row High Girl, and she says, "Hi everyone, a little while ago I decided to unite my love of design, people, and science and founded an online magazine, Composite, to reshape how society sees scientists and engineers. Well done. I could go on about why people don't trust scientists or why people don't want to be scientists, but the solution to both problems is to show the world that the scientific community is full of creative and diverse people. I support this. Me, Chris Hardwick, I support this. Composite hopes to do just that by celebrating diversity, talents, and unique paths of successful scientists and engineers. We publish original creative content for people pursuing science and engineering educations and careers, and are always looking for new submissions and people to feature. True passion project. I do most of the photography, interviewing, editing, design, and advertising myself for no monetary gain in the hopes that people can enjoy and participate. Check it out and let me know what you think. Compositezine.com. And I will be performing this weekend at Stand Up Live in Phoenix. I'm going to bring Mike Furman and April Richardson with me. Then the following weekends, I'll be in Brea, California and Oxnard, California. Google that shit for tickets and info. This episode, Tim Robbins. Man, I cannot tell you how excited I was that Tim Robbins agreed to do the podcast. I mean, Tim Robbins he's just one of those guys. I was just exactly the right age when he started doing movies. He started out doing a lot of the teen comedies that I watched when I was a teen, and then he evolved into a fucking incredible performer, and he does a lot of amazing work with Actors Gang. First of all, I'm going to tell you about his new show, Here and Now, which is premiering February 11th on HBO and HBO Now and HBO Go. It's Alan Ball, and the show is fantastic. I watched the first 2 episodes, and you should watch it. Holly Hunter is in it. It's just a fucking great show. And I also want to support the Actors Gang, which is a theater group that he founded, over 30 years ago. They're doing a show called The New Colossus at the Actors Gang Theater in Culver City. Previews begin February 8th. Opening night is February 17th. And every Thursday at the Actors Gang is Pay What You Can. If you only have 10 cents, pay 10 cents. If you're like, you know what, I got $100, I don't know what to do with, pay $100. Whatever you can. It's for the community. Just show up before 7:30 p.m. on those nights. Tickets are available at theactorsgang.com. This episode also brought to you by LinkedIn. Say, have you tried to hire someone lately? It is hard. I know. I have to hire people. But it doesn't have to be hard thanks to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is more than the world's largest professional network. It's a better way to find great talent. So how often do you check job boards? I'm going to guess you're saying not very often. For most people, it is occasional at best. But there's a place where people go daily to grow professionally and explore job opportunities. 70% of the United States workforce is there. It's LinkedIn. And because LinkedIn considers skills, experience, location, and more to match and promote your job to potential candidates, businesses rate LinkedIn jobs 40% higher than job boards at delivering quality candidates. 22 million professionals view and apply to jobs on LinkedIn every week in every industry. Just like yours, just like mine. If you're not using LinkedIn for your hiring needs, you're missing out. Go to linkedin.com/ID10T. Get a $50 credit toward your first job post. That's linkedin.com/ID10T for your $50 credit today. Terms and conditions apply. Also, another sponsor, Beachbody On Demand is an online fitness streaming service that gives you unlimited access to a wide variety of highly effective world-class workouts personalized to meet your needs. Now, you're probably saying, Chris Hardwick, why are you talking to me about Beachbody? Why would you be talking to me about that? Because I have used the app for quite a while now. And so when I found out they wanted to sponsor the podcast, I was like, I use that. I already use that. I use them. They're fantastic, just like 10-minute workouts. If you need to bang through a 10-minute workout, you can bang through a 10-minute workout on the app, on an iPad, on your phone, wherever, on Apple TV. Or wherever you are. If you're in a hotel room, you can bang out a workout. It is important. You need to stay physically healthy if you want to be able to accomplish a lot of things. Your body needs to be able to handle the stress. It is a total package to help you become your total package. Beachbody On Demand is convenient. It's amazing. You need to give this service a try. There are over 600 workouts, and there's nutritional information on there. Plus, your annual subscription is cheaper than a gym membership. So right now, ID10T listeners can get a free trial membership when you text ID10T, ID10T, to 303030. You're going to get full access to this entire platform for free. All the workouts and nutrition information for free. Just text ID10T to 303030. Thanks to Beachbody for being a thing I use, and also for sponsoring this episode of the ID10T podcast, which is episode 900 and...
He's also the spokesperson for Cold 45.
Oh boy,
I appreciated the genuine nature of that. Oh, here we go. All right, here we go. Got to put those filters on.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be an idiot.
No. But we're not gonna. It's like it's not. We're not gonna quiz you on weird.
We're not doing the quiz.
We're not doing.
You just try me. I might have some trivia. In there. All right.
I'm gonna turn some air on too,
Not that
so
it's
we don't.
trivial.
So
Trivia.
That's right. All right, I'm going to turn some air on so that we don't all fry in here. Let's see if our...
Yeah, but is that good for sound?
I've never heard.
All right,
How about
living room,
that?
media,
That's pretty cool.
kitchen. What? I'm just going to ask my wife to make it cooler because she's put the app in.
You should get a voice command. For
make
the air
it cooler in the dining room.
Please.
Please.
Is your wife.
Yes. All right. Great. So welcome. It's nice to see you.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Doing okay.
Are you good?
I'm good. Have we started?
It's already started.
Yay!
Yay! I watched the first 2 episodes of Here and Now last night, and the show is fucking great. And the only thing that I want to ask that you probably can't answer is, and I think this isn't a spoiler because when people watch the show, they'll immediately understand what I'm saying. How is the show more mystical or metaphorical? Like that. Sometimes I can't tell with Alan Ball stuff. It's like,
I love that that's the question you're asking after watching 2. That's a good sign.
it is a good. Well,
Is it mystical or metaphorical?
is it mystical or metaphorical? Because I'm trying to figure out. One character is going through a thing that seems to start bleeding over into the world.
I think I'm under a contract not to talk
You can't
about
talk about
anything
that.
mystical or metaphorical.
Damn it. But beyond that, there seem to be pretty grand undertones of like empathy and outrage,
Yes.
which I love because
Yes.
I am fascinated by the commercialized outrage machine that we seem to be living in right now.
Interesting. Yes.
Do you feel that?
I do feel that. I feel like we are living in a state of anger, a constant state of anger and frustration, and I think it's very unhealthy.
And do you partake in social media a whole lot or no?
Well, I am really bad at social media. I don't. I still don't know quite how to do it. I dabble occasionally, but here's the thing. I wish that the collective energy that has been put into negativity and an opposition, if you can imagine all of that being added up, the amount of time people spend on their various devices spewing venom and vitriol, if that were put into positive energy and actually doing something in your local neighborhood, even on your street,
Yeah.
to make things better. If we could put that energy into more productive means, I think we'd all be a lot better off. And it's also, I think, a better way to survive in a situation like this. When you wake up in the morning and you start seeing vitriol on your phone, it's going to define your day. Same thing as if you do that right before you go to sleep. It's going to define your dreams. It's a constant, like, almost like watching a car crash. What did he say today? What a horrible thing did our leader do today? And I think we can all just pretty much assume now, we've been given a year of it, I think we can pretty much make our own conclusions about how we're going to vote next time and how we feel about this. And so why do we have to live in a constant state of this opposition? I would suggest people turn their energy into more productive and positive things, just that you can do in your local neighborhood. There's an old lady that needs some help, or if there's a kid that needs some tutoring, and there's so many different ways that we can use our creativity and our intelligence to make things better. And yes, of course, opposition is important. It's important to spread information, but to live in a constant state of it, I think, is just downright unhealthy.
Yeah, I mean, I completely empathize with your character in the show who's going through like a weird several-year-long depression where it's just
It's what I get offered these days. It's like when we were young, my generation, we all had to do a Vietnam film.
Of course.
And a Get Laid movie, like Porky's.
Oh, like Porky's. Yeah. So Jacob's Ladder was the Vietnam movie.
Yeah, that's right.
What was your Get Laid movie?
Fraternity Vacation.
Fraternity Vacation.
Okay. So it was like a rite of passage. You know, if you weren't allowed to be an actor in Hollywood unless you did one of those, both of those things. So anyway, so that now it's evolved into a midlife crisis movie.
Of course.
Or playing a guy who's falling apart, which is a fun part to play.
It is a fun part to play because he's complex and he's layered. I don't know how layered the guy going to get laid in Tijuana is. He's not that layered.
It was Palm Springs, but
it was Palm Springs. It was Palm Springs.
Yeah.
It was Tijuana.
Okay, gotcha. Good.
Yeah.
Well played. But that was all around when did you found Actors Gang? 81?
Yeah, we founded in 81 at UCLA, and then professionally since 82.
Okay, so because I was looking at, you're one of those guys that I really had to like look up. Okay, I need to go far back on the IMDb page because Tim Robbins is a guy like, oh, that's right, he was in that. Oh my God, that too. And it's interesting to see how, in the 80s it started like a lot of actors, it's like guest stars, guest stars on cop shows, a Love Boat appearance.
Oh yeah.
What did you do on the Love Boat?
I played George Kennedy as a young man in Nazi Germany.
On the Love Boat?
Come on now. It's a classic. It was a classic.
How is Captain Stubing involved in that in any way?
Flashbacks, dude. Flashbacks.
Oh my God.
How wasn't that a spinoff into its own show?
Yeah, I had to dye my hair blonde for it. It was a disaster. It was a disaster.
Here it is. I just thought you were going to be some young guy. He comes on, he finds love in front of Isaac with a woman Isaac's serving drinks. You get to make a snappy thing, and then you leave. But no.
Yeah, no.
You were maybe the one person in the history of the Love Boat that had to do a Nazi Germany storyline.
Yeah.
So when
Love Boat had lots of Nazi episodes.
And it was
more than you think.
Lots of little known fact.
They finally go and they break
Stubing was a Nazi.
They didn't know until at the time. He just seemed so nice. Said no idea what he was actually sending messages to the Axis forces underneath everyone's noses. But I'm kind of in sort of a social media era where, everyone's their own promoter, everyone's their own marketer. In 1981, 82.
Apparently people buying hundreds of thousands of followers. Too.
Yes, that literally means nothing. It's just like what are you buying? You're buying phantom. You're just buying a phantom digit.
Buying a way to feel better about myself.
Yeah, I guess that's ultimately what it is.
You know the truth.
Do you know how many people follow me? 300 million. It's incredible.
It's a lot. Well, there's a joke. There's a joke about that in your show where one of your adopted sons is selling his book is meeting with a book publisher, and the book publisher mentions about, and your Twitter and Instagram followers are really great.
Yeah,
I laugh because those are the things that people say.
Dude,
in meetings.
people are being hired to be in movies based on their followers, not on their talent. It's a downward slope.
It is.
I was once when I was working at in the E building. I was walking by some people having a meeting, and I heard a voice say, "I don't care if this guy's better. The other one has more followers on Twitter."
Yeah, well, it's because of marketing. It's like the marketing departments are running things because they need to be able to sell stuff. So it's just data.
And this is just for like a guest starring role too. I mean, we would just need to pass an audition.
Yeah,
you had to learn some lines. You go in. You can hear the person in front of you auditioning. It's miserable, but you still got to go in and do it.
It's on the resume. It's like headshots are just going to be just the number of followers you have. It's not even going to be a picture of you anymore.
No, it'll be under special skills: Australian accent, horseback riding, 1 million followers.
Hello.
But you at a time where it wasn't really common for people to kind of be industrious and enterprising. You formed this theater group, and was your mission to work in television and film and all, or was it to just kind of like really support theater and take theater like into the world, touring into communities? Because I know you guys did a lot of work, like taking Shakespeare to places and making shows available inexpensively on Thursdays. So.
Yes, it all started with theater. When I was a young man, a young boy, 12 years old, I started acting in theater. And I studied theater in college, and I always thought I was going to be a director of theater. That was my ambition. When I was at UCLA, I got into this thing called the O'Brien Awards, and I won this contest that they had, but the contest would take place in the auditorium in front of a whole bunch of talent agents. So I got an agent in UCLA. Now, at the same time, I was taking our first production, Ubu the King, out into Hollywood. Okay. And so I started to audition, but I really funded the first show on my delivery pizza delivery tips.
Oh wow!
And so and I was working at Jacopo's in Beverly Hills.
Oh my God! I remember Jacopo's.
Yeah, it was excellent tips. I mean, if you're going to deliver pizza, folks, this is a little wisdom. If you're going to deliver pizza, go to a nice neighborhood. Yeah.
So you can fund your theater program.
So it took me about a year to actually get a part. I just thought it was all just like. I had an attitude. I was a punk rocker. I didn't want to sell out. I didn't want what am I doing here? What is this bullshit, that I'm auditioning for? And then I got something, and fittingly enough, as a terrorist, I was like walking with the attitude that I think the casting people got it right. I was like, this punk rocker. I didn't give a shit, right? But I lucked out, and I got onto the first St. Elsewhere's. So the pilot and the first 3 shows of St. Elsewhere. And so it was a quality piece. Bruce Paltrow's the producer of it. And that was when I first got that check, I thought, oh my God, I can really fund a lot of theater with this, better than pizza, way better than pizza. So I started cleaning up my act as far as my attitude goes, and started auditioning more and getting more parts, and that led to for the first 5, 6 years, 7 years of the company, I was funding it from my salaries.
Oh my God, that's incredible! Because the people that came out of Actors Gang, or that or have brushed by it at the time, I mean, it's an insane group of. I mean, Tenacious D came out of Actors Gang, and Favreau, and there's so many amazing people, and they all kind of have their own. That's why I wonder do you attract a certain type of person, or do they learn? Because all of these types of people, these types of people kind of go off and sort of make their own stuff and kind of plant their own flag, and that seems to be an interesting common thread for a lot of the names that have gone through there.
Yeah, it's at the core of the work that we do is a acknowledgement of the audience that they are. Theater is different than film. In theater, it's an event. It's the last place on earth right now that you can actually ask people to turn their cell phones off, and they will. Right? So you can have a good stretch of time to create a new reality or a pose a question or create a fiction of some kind, to tell a story in a dark place for 2 hours. And part of our approach was that we didn't want to do American realism. We wanted to look at theater as what the event of theater has been historically from the time it was invented back in Greek times. It was always about a dialogue with the audience. It was always about asking questions that were relevant to the audience, taking people on a journey that might illuminate something in their own existence or in their own faith or in their own life. And so we always felt that's what theater is. In fact, we were proud, and we are proud of the fact that over our 36-year history, there's only been one play that we've done that has had a couch.
What was the play?
It was Happy Birthday Wanda June by Kurt Vonnegut.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was reluctant about that. I didn't want that damn couch.
It soils the perfection that you've already. We can't have these outside elements in here.
So when we develop pieces or write from within, we were always with the idea that it's a wide canvas, that our style theater, we can travel from a farm in the Midwest to space. It doesn't matter. We don't do it with sets. We do it with imagination. We do it with sound, and we do it with acting. And so the people that are attracted to it are inventors in their own way. And so, like the fact that Jack Black came out of this and Kyle Gass came out of was the fertile ground that they formed Tenacious D in was this environment where if you bring the goods, if you bring the states of emotion and you bring the urgency with it, you can create anything. You can tell any story.
Wow. I mean, did they do Tenacious D at Actors Gang?
Yeah, I remember them. I remember them singing a song outside of our space on Santa Monica Boulevard. Before they were Tenacious D, I remember them writing a song about OJ. And it was yeah. And but Jack I cast in a play when he was 12 years old, and then he started hanging around. We would we wanted to smoke pot, so we would tell him to go away, but but he started hanging out and then became a really amazing actor. When he was late teens, he was with us, and early 20s. And then I cast him in Bob Roberts, which was his first film. Yeah,
that's incredible, too, because you have this garden, basically, of really amazing talent.
Well, you know what it is also? It's a way, and I think the predominant thing for me, the reason why I've always returned to it after a film project or have done the work I've done there, is because it keeps me sane here. This can be a very destructive town, Hollywood. Sure. It can particularly if you're successful. I've seen so many people fall. And why does that happen? I think it has to do with the idea that I think we view success sometimes, like when you nail a big movie role or a series, that you feel that is the achievement, that you've gotten there, right? But you don't go back to school. You don't go back to the laboratory,
right?
And you live in this existence of I'm famous for, rather than what can I do that I have never done before. And we don't have a lot of environments for that. For people that act in TV and movies.
Well, it's scary, isn't it, though? Because if you have this idea in your head that, well, someday I want to achieve something bigger than whatever it is I'm doing now, and then you achieve that thing and you have it, it's people want to protect it, right? It gets really scary. I'm like, I have this thing. I don't want to lose it now. I don't want to fuck it up. And then they start getting crazy. And
right. And if I do a play, then someone might find out that I can't really act.
Right.
What if they can't edit around this?
But it is scary, for actors. It is listen, I remember going to a Hollywood party and realizing no one was getting drunk. I was like, what is wrong with these people? And I realized, oh, shit, if you go too far, it's career ender. It's it's like you don't want to be embarrassingly drunk in front of a captain of industry.
Well, wasn't that like the entire subtext of The Player, though? Was just this sort of like weird, unspoken...
Well, there's Larry Levy, played by Peter Gallagher.
Yes.
He says, I say, Larry, I didn't know you were an alcoholic, because he's headed to an AA meeting. He says, I'm not an alcoholic. That's where all the deals are being made.
Yeah. But there's that real commentary about this toxic system that everyone just accepts.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, this is what it is.
Well, thankfully we're getting rid of some of that toxicity now.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we're getting rid of it, really. It will exist. It will continue to exist. But at least it's out in the open. At least it's empowering women to say no more and to stand up more bold to that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a sleazy place. Honestly, I don't go out a lot in Hollywood.
Right.
I don't go to these parties.
No.
I get invited to them, but I'd rather be at my theater. I'd rather be figuring some new problem out on stage, pushing the boundaries on some new piece that we're working on. It's like a self-perpetuating thing. It's like it's almost like your ego is self-perpetuating when you go to these things. Mm-hmm. How you are treated. What is your level of success? It's a fool's game, because unless you are in a movie that was out on Friday that made over $100 million, you're a loser.
Yeah.
So,
And there are subtle ways that you realize, too, and because it's a very non-linear achievement system, you might go, oh, wow, the photographers put their camera down, like, after a second. I must suck. It's like you have all these different ways of... Because there's no real way to know if you're not focused on the work and you're focused on all the stuff around the work. It's just kind of a crapshoot. It can be very disappointing and be reflected in whatever sort of weird baggage that you have.
Yeah.
It may not be true at all, but it also... it's a toxic business for people who are already vulnerable coming to the table. So
yes.
It seems like a strange...
You better get used to rejection at any stage of your career.
How do you prepare people in the group for all those weird parts of the business that aren't about acting, or do you just focus on the acting?
We just focus on the acting and the theater we're doing. We don't talk about show business. As a matter of fact, we have a rule in our dressing rooms that we don't talk about showbiz. We don't talk about auditions. We don't just concentrate on the work we're doing. We really consider ourselves a theater company first and foremost, and we've been all around the world, and we know what that expectation is for audiences throughout the world when we've done theater. We've done it in 5 continents now, and we've toured with productions like 1984 and Midsummer Night's Dream and a play I wrote called Harlequino Onto Freedom. And everywhere we go, there's a reverence for theater that is very serious. It's treated as an art form.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we do that in the United States. I don't know that we do that in Los Angeles. We do. We are very serious about what we do. And part of that seriousness is a levity. We have to make sure that anytime we do something, that we look at it as entertainment and not as lecture, and not as something that is that ever assumes that the actor is smarter than the audience.
Right.
The humility involved in that is really super important, and never to take ourselves too seriously, even though we work in a serious, disciplined way, but never to take ourselves without a grain of salt. We have a sense of humor about what we're doing.
Yeah, because a lot of the early stuff that you did, I mean, when I first started seeing you, and it was probably maybe Howard the Duck or The Sure Thing or something, but I always just knew. But when I first saw him, like, I like that guy. I like something about that guy. I think he's funny. You're funny. And then and then Tapeheads was a movie that I loved. I loved that movie. You and Cusack.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing of like hijacking a Menudo concert. It was just fucking so crazy. just to promote a band you like. I mean, it was so, and I was probably like 17 when that movie came out, so I was the right age to be like, I want to be one of those guys. But it was only a couple years later that you're doing like very serious, heavy, really dramatic films that are getting insane amounts of critical acclaim.
Yeah.
Did that feel like it happened quickly, or because you had 10 years of training under your belt by that point, did it feel like that it could, that you thought it should have happened sooner, or what was your feeling?
No, never felt it should have happened sooner. As I thought it happened right at the right time, and it was that kind of thing is very heady. That's a very all of a sudden now you're getting offered lead roles in movies, and it was something that it wasn't my plan, but I was like, well, I'll get on this train. It's a great train, and there was a lot of really high quality stuff that was coming my way. So I really appreciated that, and the opportunity to work with Altman was a life changer. He was someone I admired from the first time I saw Nashville. I thought for the first time I understood what films could be, and became a film fan because of that movie.
And did you feel like when you started working with him, was there how are you able to sort of push the fandom out of the way, like push the, it must have been slightly nerve-wracking to
It
work
was
with.
nerve-wracking, but the first time I met him was up at his place up in Malibu, and I got out of the car, went in, and I was nervous because it was for shortcuts. Actually, he was trying to put together shortcuts before he was starting to put together the player. And I didn't read this. I hadn't read the script, and there was no sides, and I didn't know what this audition was. I'm like, what am I going to do? And the agent was like, he just wants to talk to you, right? And I walk in, and they're having lunch. He says, sit down. And then we ate lunch. We talked a little bit, and I told him about the Actors Gang. He really was interested in the theater I was doing, and then after lunch he said, "Hey, you want to smoke a joint?" And I was like, "Yeah." Weird, but a hero, right?
Sure.
And then we just hung out for an hour or so after that, and I was like, "Wow, this guy's great," and he wants to engage with me. He wasn't. The thing about Bob was that he was brilliant. He knew all the answers, but he never tried to come off as the auteur. Mm-hmm. He would ask. He would say, well, when you asked him a question about something, he would say, I'm not sure. What do you think? Right? Even though he knows the answer, right? It's something that taught me a lot about directing, is that you don't have to be the top dog all the time. You can be humble, and you can say, there are better people to answer this question.
Right.
And still retain your authority. I think a lot of people, when they're directing a film, are overcompensating, trying to assert their authority, trying to say that they must know the answer to everything. And so when I started the player with him, the first thing he did was he said, we're gonna sit down in our office, and we're gonna start rewriting, you and me. And I was like, wow, oh, okay. And so we would just brainstorm for weeks, trying to figure out better ways to tell the story. And it was an incredible gift to me to feel real blessed that he did that, because it really enabled me as a director of film. It really made me think I could do it. And my first directing job came right after the player, Bob Roberts, which I took the cinematographer from the player and his first AD and asked Bob, of course.
Sure.
But and so they wound up, helping me out on my film too.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm curious now to know that you were that involved in the creative process. What do you think the player is about? Is it just like a simple kind of noir murder mystery set in this kind of toxic Hollywood, or is it? How do you view it?
That's a pretty good description. All been after when we were at Cannes, and it was successful there, and I won an award, and Bob won an award, and he turned to me and he says, "You know what? I think we were too nice to Hollywood."
But that's so crazy, right? It's like, I think everyone would acknowledge. I mean, I would be willing to bet that most of the people that watch the player wouldn't say like, I want to be Griffin Mill or I want to be these, they would go, wow, look at those people. But then turn around and probably support the same system that keeps that in place.
Yeah, yeah.
But it definitely going from that and then directing. You're directing yourself as the lead character. So how is that? What is the challenge behind that? Because that seems like, how are you getting out of your head to make sure that you are being you, the actor, and also you, the director?
Well, first of all, I've been living with this story for about 6 years at this point, but trying to set it up. So I kind of knew. But then I was also, well, I have to play the part for financing, right? So I couldn't cast someone else.
Right.
And then it was a matter of just learning it, really, and it was learning it in a different way than I usually do when I'm an actor in a film. I'm not going to have time to memorize it every day. So I just have to memorize it before we start. Mm-hmm. And so I had and then I also said I'm going to give myself only 3 or 4 takes each time, right? And it has to be that way, or else we're going to go over budget and over schedule. So it was just about discipline and having a good cinematographer that you trust. And I think I did playback on only a couple of the shots, just like the more complicated shots.
Oh, wow.
But we didn't do playback. That's a death knell for a set. It's when actors start looking at themselves all on
and they just get in their heads.
Yeah.
Oh, I look weird. Oh, I can't.
Can I do it again?
Yeah.
Can I do it again?
Can we just do it one more time? No, we got to move on.
No, but wait.
Yeah, well, we could, but we're losing light. Yeah. It's like 10 a.m., but eventually we'll lose the light.
We'll edit around it.
Yeah.
Let me do it again.
You're fantastic, by the way. It was really good.
Well, yeah, I think that's all most people want to hear.
The first 50 takes were good. I think
there might be something in there we can stitch
together.
What do you think a director's job is? Because everyone has a slightly different take on what they think a director's supposed to do.
The general.
The general?
Yeah.
Just sort of gives everyone their marching orders.
Well, you also have to inspire the troops to go up the hill, too. You have to be sensitive to what your crew is going through. Too.
Yeah. And so, let's see. So that would have been around 92, right? 92, Bob Roberts,
Mm-hmm.
92, 93. And then Shawshank's 94, I think. And that, when you're making a movie like that, obviously you're probably you're not so hyper aware of what's going on. But it's just one of those, that movie's on television all the time. And it's a movie that if it's on, I'll just watch wherever it is in the story.
You're not alone.
Yeah. What is it about? What do you think it is about that story that is so timeless and is still something that people talk about?
I think it's about hope, about offering hope, and about this idea that we can all be, and we all are, enslaved in some way, imprisoned in some way. We're doing it to ourselves most of the time, whether it's a relationship that's going nowhere or a bad job that you don't like, And I guess it's that if you understand that everyone's trapped to a certain degree, the movie offers the possibility that there's a place in the sun for you somewhere. There's a place that, if with some perseverance and patience and a little luck, you can get there.
Yeah, and that's where Morgan Freeman really began honing his narration skills.
Yeah.
To ultimately be the voice. It's like, I need that guy to narrate everything. I just need that buttery voice.
Yeah.
Just saying, I just need that. I just need that in my life. But kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, not getting taken a hold of by this balance between becoming successful in a way where it might be dangerous and toxic to your ego and still staying grounded. Are you still staying pretty grounded at this point?
Well, look, first let me say that it was a big challenge, and it's when everybody wants you, when you're getting 10, 12, 20 scripts, and when that whole change in your life happens, your battle, at least my battle to stay grounded, was rooted in the theater. But I also know that I'm sure there were instances where I wasn't so grounded and might have said or done things or acted in a way that was indicative of that kind of bullshit. And to anybody out there, I apologize that was affected by that. But I was having a conversation with someone about 3 months ago, and it was a producer, and we were just joking around. He says, you turned me down on something. I said, now what? And so there are sections of my life where I don't even know what happened, right? Because things got so busy and so crazy. So I might have received this script. I might have gotten an offer for it, but I might have also not had time to read it, or maybe I was already doing something in that time frame or whatever. Right. So you understand, every time that happens, someone gets offended by it.
Of course.
Right? The person that's written that script or the person who wanted you in their film, and they think, well, fuck you, you didn't want to do my film, right? So all of that said, I feel like the thing that I've been successful at is being able to understand the power of saying no, and the importance of saying no to things that seem like obligatory, seem like repetitions of things I've already done. I've turned down a lot of scripts recently because now it's like, for me, it's like, is it worth it in life to do this? It's not whether it's worth it for a career or whether I need money or whatever, any of that. It's time's too short.
Yeah.
Life's too short to be dancing with this kind of thing for 3 months.
Right.
There's other creative things that I know I can do and I am doing that I would prefer to be doing.
Yeah.
And I don't have the desire as an actor just to simply be on a set. And I think a lot of people do. I think that I was thinking about this recently, why people that I know that are successful, that have a lot of money, are doing mediocre things. And I either they don't know it's mediocre, or maybe they just, that's their life. That's what they do.
They're just like going to a set, getting up.
They need to do that. That's how they feel good.
Yeah.
And maybe it's, that it's the place where, you come and someone comes up to you and says, what can I get you?
Right.
Right? And then for certain people, it's being in that makeup trailer for an hour.
Right.
And being, just taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not sure. But for me, I'm not a big fan of being on a set, unless it's something I really, really want to do, and something that's really I'm invested with emotionally, and the story I feel is a necessary story to be told.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to the people that I tend to fan worship on the most are the people where it just feels like you're just doing stuff because you're excited about it or you're passionate about it. Maybe you won't do something for a couple of years and you do something really cool, or you just, it's like I always love that Will Ferrell just did this weird beer commercial in the Midwest just because he fucking wanted to. Like, there was no other. Those kinds of choices seem to always be the best choices, rather than, I have to take this type of movie to try to do this, or then I gotta do that. And I'll do, if I do this one, then I guess I gotta do that one. And then it just seems
one for me, one for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one for me, one for them.
Then it becomes like 20 for them,
0 for me.
And when am I going to do my thing, right? But this is why, Here and Now is one of those things. I read that script and I was like, wow, that's talking about right now. That's talking about what's happening now in our culture.
Yeah.
And it's doing it from a personal point of view with a family.
Yeah.
I thought and Alan Ball's genius, so I thought, well, that's a no-brainer, that this guy's going to produce something interesting. I know that. Yeah,
he's really great at. I feel like one of his many superpowers is showing a complete group of people all in individual crisis. Mm-hmm. I mean, going back to 6 Feet Under, and it's like all these characters are sort of rich with their own crisis, and then what happens when you put them all like in a bag and shake them together, like just watching all this crisis like bang together.
Yeah.
I mean, is that? See, I want to ask questions about but you can't answer those questions. But what was it specifically that excited you about the show?
Well, first of all, playing someone that's coming apart.
Are you ready? You were ready for that? Yeah. You're ready to play the
I think it starts around my age and it ends up with King Lear.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know, okay?
Yeah.
So eventually you get to the King Lear where you're an old doddering man getting naked and yelling at the storm that's approaching.
You know, you could always be a crazy character on Game of Thrones. Release the how. You know, like you could be a release the something guy. That's a fun crazy old person
Are
to
there
get
any
to.
animals besides the Kraken that get released like that?
Hounds get released.
And Krakens?
Yeah, hounds and Krakens pretty much.
Release the Krakens.
Yeah, all the Krakens. How many Krakens we got? Yeah,
Release
just let
the
them go.
wildebeests.
Let them go. Let them go. Now we're getting into Python. You work with Terry Jones too, right?
Yeah.
You must have been a Python fan.
I was, oh my God, so huge of a fan. That was like such a great opportunity to work with him.
Just
to be around him, John Cleese, you know, it was so fun.
do you bombard them with questions, or do you like?
No,
other
I
people?
was worried about other things. But yeah, no, it's just here and now. There's something about it that I think is necessary right now to open up this dialogue about what it is to be a person of color in this country with this new invective, this new hatred, this new supremacy that's being encouraged. It's just taking us backwards in a terrible way, and not to mention all the other things, but just in as far as here and now goes, these are human beings that are being unfairly targeted for the most broad, insensitive reasons, and I think the here and now talks about that and talks about where we are right now, but also where my generation is and what we feel our failures are.
Sure, but I also like this storyline, particularly with Holly Hunter's character, where it's like she's trying so hard that it's not helpful. That's almost like destructive. But she's just trying so hard. It's like she just wants to control the experience, but it's like in her heart is in the right place, but her methods are sort of just like hug you too hard kind of thing. I think that's an interesting commentary as well about, you know, control and trying to control the experience, and, you know, like and what's helpful and what's not helpful, even though you think you're the most, you know, like flower loving, like everyone should all be happy, you know, like.
Well, there's that talk about, you know, it's the millennials, that generation, and it was post hippie, right?
Right.
But it was also with this a lot of the same values. But there's, you know, a lot of people I've talked to in like people that hire people find a challenge in that, because this is a generation that has been maybe overly nurtured to the idea that, you know, is every single one of your art projects from kindergarten and first grade framed. Right, so this might be an indication of maybe being over nurtured, right? Yeah. So that you're a genius no matter what you do, right? And I think it's important to be self-critical and to be able to understand that you're not all that, right? That not all that at 22, right? You know, you have to figure out a way to be able to receive your boss's suggestions, or, you know, various things from the society that are. I
remember feeling really stupid at 22. Like I don't remember. I remember feeling like, oh my God, I don't know anything. Everyone knows stuff, and I don't know stuff.
I was scared all the time.
Yeah, so was I.
Me too. I was terrified.
Yeah, but I also, you know, I think I made some comment on another podcast where I sort of went after millennials for like being a participation trophy culture.
Before we get too down on millennials, technically I'm a millennial.
I know. And
did you get bad feedback?
Someone said something that I couldn't dispute.
Here's the deal: millennials are going to save this world.
Yes,
right? This is the deal. It's not going to be easy, and we left you a huge mess.
Sorry. Well, that was part of what this person said. Was she said, well, it's not our fault that we were given participation trophies. Our parents did that. And I was like,
That's true.
You're right.
That's true. And
you were
That's
conditioned.
what you're talking about with the Holly Hunter character in Here and Now. Is that. And they're absolutely right.
That you were conditioned, and then I think about, I don't have kids yet, but then I think like, well, when I have kids, of course I'm going to want them to feel good all the time. Of course I'm going to want them to feel happy. I'm not going to want them to be hurt.
Yeah.
So, I totally envision myself as like, oh, come on, that was perfect,
Here's the deal. My parents, would just go out. If you have a key, we'll throw them, but go out, right? And so we're like,
oh, remember not to die. Okay, we'll see you later.
New York City, 7 years old, taking the subway. Okay?
Fantastic.
So it's different survival skills for different times, whatever. But my parents were basically go out. You have a key, come back by dinner, right? And so we had free reign. I was on the subway when I was 7 years old, right? So I would go play until sundown. So that was not particularly overly nurtured, right?
Right.
But here's the deal. Regardless of whether you're overly nurtured or under-nurtured, at some point, I know this is a parent, at some point your kids are going to tell you, you fucked it up.
Sure. No matter what.
Yeah, it's just going to, at some point there's going to be a conversation. And you know what? They're right. Because none of us is perfect.
But
right?
they have to tell you that.
We try our best. We try our best. We think we're doing a good job. But then their perspective is, you didn't do that good of a job in that particular instance. And then you go, you're right. That is fucked up. And I think it's a matter of being open enough to admitting that you might have been wrong as a parent.
Sure.
In order to continue a relationship with your children.
Yeah, but I think at a certain point, like the younger people have to kind of that. I think that's part of the rebellion process, and the rebellion process is important because they kind of have to raise the structures to seed their own stuff, and they have to be capable entities in that way. So it is. It's necessary for a certain amount of like, I got to knock all this down so I can build my own thing. Mm-hmm. And I have my own perspective and you had yours because of the time that you came up in. And now things are different. Like I feel bad because for so long I sort of just have capped on millennials. But when I think about it, I'm like, you know what though? A lot of you are really doing the best with what you got. It's like, this is the situation that you got and it's not a great... There are some things that are amazing compared to when we were growing up, and some things that are... I don't know how I would have dealt as a teenager with social media and being so vulnerable and scared and terrified, and then just letting random people I don't know bully the shit out of me and feel social pressures because I don't look a certain way, and just seeing that all day long. I don't know how a young brain processes that much toxicity.
It's difficult. It's a new and brand new challenge. Here's the plus about the millennials. Now, my kids are 28 and 25 and 32, right? And so they are this generation, and I remember the Iraq War when it was about to start. The only opposition that came as the drumbeats of war were happening from across the media, NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, Fox, everybody, was basically advocating for this war, using the propaganda that was given to them by the Bush administration, and putting that story out there. Online, you could see the other story. Online, you could read The Guardian from the UK or The Independent from the UK and the reporting that there was happening throughout the world. And you can understand that, oh, wait a second, this is being cooked. This intelligence is being cooked, and this is bullshit. If the media didn't exist on the internet at that point, it would have been a slam dunk for them. But this created the first resistance on the internet,
right?
Which resulted in a march about 4 weeks before the war started in over 500 cities across the world. Millions and millions of people coming out against a war that had not started yet. That is the internet. And that is what these millennials have been exposed to.
Right.
So when you fast forward to Obama being elected, it's from that start. And then when you fast forward to just recently with this election, you come to understand that their inability to grab hold of the Hillary Clinton thing has everything to do with their betrayal from the last 20 years. If when you're 10 years old or 8 years old, you're still aware that they're cooking up this fiction. Mm-hmm. So you no longer trust the media, right?
Right.
As you just don't trust it anymore. Because as a child, you were lied to. You know you were lied to. And this is coming after surviving whatever traumatic experience you might have experienced from 9/11.
Right.
So it's like, Daddy lied to me, right? And now I don't trust them anymore, right? So now they're making their decisions based on their own information, based on where they find it, right? That can be very dangerous, but it can also be the last shred of independent thought and freedom that we can have.
Right, and now everyone has a voice, which is fantastic.
Right.
But even just besides politics, I feel like younger people, it's sort of like with the rise of YouTube videos and social media videos, anything that looks too produced, people immediately don't trust. I don't know, you're trying to sell me something,
Right.
So like the idea that so many things got made that you go, where if you worked in traditional media, you go, oh, it looks shitty. It's just a guy in a bedroom. They're like, yeah, but it's honest. It's authentic. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, that's all been monetized now, and it's all like you can copy that model. But it is interesting to just hear what you say and realize, like, well, that kind of happened across all sectors, not just politics, but also entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Of people sort of feeling like, I just need some voice that feels authentic to me and is not some big company trying to sell me something.
I think that's why Bernie resonated with the young people. So he was saying things that were on their minds, mm-hmm. and that he was addressing things that politicians don't usually address.
Right.
And so I believe this generation is way, way more progressive than mine was.
Right.
And I think that's something to have hope for.
Yeah, because now you really do see what the effects are. I mean, you really can see people who are in trouble. You can actually see it. And it's sort of like when the Vietnam War was televised, and for the first time, people were like, oh, wait, war is bad. War is bloody and deadly. Now we're seeing an even more granular, minute-by-minute play of everything that's happening in the world.
But the way people are taking in the information, where it's on a it's on a Facebook page or a Twitter page, where it's just you're seeing it's like, hey, there's still slavery happening in Africa, and then hey, here's a cute video of a dog. Hey, like my kid just did this thing. Hey, there, it's like it's hard to let anything sink in or process when you can just flick your thumb and almost move past something that does deserve your attention more than other things.
Sure.
I think that can be kind of a dangerous way of it's like the way people take in information is like a bit too.
It's
they look
true.
at the headline
It's
and go,
true, and it's unfortunate. But it might be the last place we're going to hear about anything that's happening in certain places of the world, because CNN doesn't do it. They're just 24/7 on the what they're on, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But they don't talk about the world. And NPR does to some degree, but there's not a lot of news agencies that are talking about Yemen, for example, and what we've been doing over there. There's still the blackout that happens.
Yeah, at least you can get if you have cable, you can access the BBC World News, which it usually does a pretty good job of kind of a little
world,
bit more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that?
I don't know, because we're Americans and we're so funny. Where's it happening? Yeah.
I'm interested in kind of exploring something you were talking about before. Is how do you know what the difference is between believing in what you're doing, believing whatever you're, whether it's a political message or a choice, an acting choice? How are you to not get swept up by your ego but still believe in what you're saying and what you're doing? Because I kind of feel like I get worried sometimes, like, if I really believe too much in what I'm doing, then I'm going to get caught up in my ego, and then I'm going to miss things that are important. But I still feel like it's important to be confident in what you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. Does that question make any sense?
Yeah, no, it's just about arrogance, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, so what's the difference between arrogance and believing in yourself? Like the positive believing in yourself, and then where it gets kind of negative and arrogant and ego-driven? Because it seems like it can be difficult to navigate those two things.
I don't find that difficult. I think arrogance comes from lack of listening, right? It's where you stop listening to people. It's where you think you're the expert and that everyone should listen to you.
Right.
That's boring. Those kinds of people are just terrible at parties. Particularly when they take cocaine, and then it's even worse. Then they just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. The worst drug in the world, by the way.
Oh yeah, I've never done it. You've done it, right?
Yeah, it's great.
What? I feel like
terrible.
I've heard there's like a weird resurgence of it now.
Yeah, there's always someone stupid doing it. But here's the deal. It's humility is an important part of being an actor, of doing art. Any artist without humility is just going to be doing the same thing over and over again. And humility allows you to be open to a new idea. Humility allows you to recognize that the people that you're working with are equal to you and deserve respect and deserve your attention and your focus. We have a rule at the Actors Gang of two rules in particular. One is that when someone else is talking, give them the focus. And more importantly, everyone is safe on the stage. No one presumes that another actor should be doing anything other than what they're doing. So it manifests in a safety issue, really. It's like, don't use the other actor, don't grab the other actor. No touching, in essence, without the other person's knowledge and acceptance of the touch. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes actors get in this like cocoons of of self. I need to take care of myself. I need to take care of what I need in this scene. I need this and I need this, and I want everyone to call me by my character name, and I don't want anyone to make eye contact with me, and I need to act like this in order for myself. And I guess that works for some people, but it doesn't make it easier for the other people they're working with. So how do you create an environment where you know what you're doing, but you're also, in part of what knowing what you're doing is being able to be generous and being able to be positive with the people you're working with.
Yeah, that is a perfect answer.
And in conversation, but also in eye contact. And when you're off camera, be better than you were on camera.
Because ultimately, you're just talking about contributing to you're talking about forming a relationship and a chemistry and contributing rather than making it all about yourself.
Right.
Which I would imagine can be tricky sometimes, especially if you're the number one name on the call sheet.
No, that's where it's most important that you do that.
Yeah.
Because you're already number one on the call sheet. I mean, what more do you need?
Constant
A daily reminder that you're the poobah of the.
Will you just text me every day and tell me I'm amazing? Is that okay? Will you just text me every day?
Everyone is capable of everyone's capable of failure, right? And even the one that's number one on the call sheet. And so I think it's just better work situation to go in and with humility and how can I be helped, but also how can I help?
Did you have to form a relationship with your representatives? Like, look, this is how I do things. Don't throw crappy things at me. Don't, because a lot of that part of the business is very much about, it's very money driven, and
it's a challenge because if you tell them too much, they might just stop working for you.
Sure, of course, right? Yeah. Oh, I thought you didn't want to work. No, I wasn't saying I didn't want to work. I just want to work.
Why can't you read my mind?
Can't you just empathically absorb my feelings?
Well, I didn't say I didn't want any scripts. I don't want the shitty ones.
I don't understand. So no scripts? No, again, please. But that's why, because you have such a great eye for what's special about a project. And I always wondered about working with the Coen brothers, especially on a film like Hudsucker, where I would imagine on set, a lot of the choices probably seem very... If you're seeing it live with what they're seeing, Does it feel like, is this working? Is this strange? Because when you see it cut together, of course, it's flawless. Mm-hmm. But at the time, does it feel like, okay, I'm going to trust you guys that this is going to work?
Well, actually, I'd auditioned for that part.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. I was past auditioning at that point, but the Coen brothers were like really specific about what they wanted, right? And so we had a lot of discussions about it beforehand, about the style that we were working in, and watched a lot of, 30s screwball comedies. And that fast-paced dialogue and that, there's a certain innocence to the character, naivete, which is like a lot of those characters in the genre. And so it was really about, just bringing that every day, that discipline every day. And they were they were really fun to work with because they're very clear about what they want, It was never ambiguous.
Yeah, their style does not seem at all like there's any ambiguity. They have to know that is, to hold their type of storytelling together feels like they really kind of better know exactly what they're doing, or it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And when you saw the movie, were you like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought we were making?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I loved it. What they did with it, they just didn't know how to put it out. That's the problem. They no one knew what a Hudsucker was, let alone what a proxy is. Two difficult words. Like we understand the,
and then just you holding a circle.
Yeah,
but that's what's sort of fun about it. Is like that was within the story of that movie. It all makes perfect sense.
I think it's a great movie.
I love that movie.
I think it's one of their best, actually. Not a lot of people know that, but I think it is. It's certainly one of their most hopeful movies.
It really is. Yeah.
Especially lately.
Yeah, they had a little bit of a hopeful, but Raising Arizona was kind of hopeful at the end. It's like they had a couple, and then it just went back to like death, destruction. Well, this has been so amazing to have you come to my house and chat. I mean, I really. Are you directing any Actors Gang stuff anytime soon?
Yeah.
What are you directing?
We're opening it up in 2 weeks. But when does this air?
This will go up in a week.
Okay. So we're opening up this week.
Fantastic.
It's called The New Colossus. It's based on a workshop we did called the Refugee Workshop. About 2 years ago, we were looking at the rhetoric that was happening regarding immigration and refugees, and the demonization of people that are, have lost everything, which is so cruel. And we started thinking about, as a company, how can we tell a story about this? We don't have any Syrians in the company, but we do have people from all over the world. And so I asked everyone to find their origin story, find out who in their family left oppression towards freedom. And so everyone is pretty much playing their relatives.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, and so whether it was relatives that came in the 17th century or whether it's people that came last year, it's 12 different languages spoken from 12 different periods of time. And somehow all of these refugees meet at a place waiting for a boat. And you hear some of their story in English, but a lot of the play is in languages that you might not understand. But it still works emotionally. You still understand in a way what's happening. And at the end of the play, we remind the audience of the words on the Statue of Liberty, written by Emma Lazarus, called The New Colossus. And that's the name of the...
That's fantastic. I mean, that to me is really using what you do, to get ideas across for things that you believe in. That seems like what's a pure form of art than that?
I'm telling you, we had, during our workshop production, and we're going to do this in the production that we're opening up February 11th, is that at the end of the performance, we ask the audience if there are any refugees in the audience. And if not, we ask, And if there are, we ask them to tell their story.
To get up and tell their story?
Yeah, if they're comfortable telling their story.
Sure.
Tell their story. Then we ask sons and daughters of refugees, or grandsons, granddaughters of refugees, great-grandsons, great-granddaughters of refugees. One night we had, and then I will ask where from, right? Mm-hmm. One night we had pretty much the entire world in our little house in Culver City, 99-seat house, from almost everywhere in the world, other than Antarctica. No one's really a refugee from Antarctica. But seriously, we had people from
those penguins marched 400
several countries
yards.
in the Far East, several European countries, a couple African countries, a few South American countries. And you realize this is us. This is who we are as a country. This audience right here from 99 different places is what the United States is. Mm-hmm. That is what defines us.
This makes me think that you should just come over weekly and hang out, and then we'll just hang and talk about stuff. And
Sure.
you keep us informed. Keep us informed on
It's
stuff.
such a long drive for.
I know. I'm so sorry. I know the area of town that you live in, and I was like, "Fuck, that's a long way."
Yeah.
Because whenever people ask me to go that far west, I always try to find reasons like, can we just like meet like around Century City? It's like kind of midway.
I once met a girl that lived on that side of town, and like I was like, "Where do you live?" And she said that town, and I was like, I can't do a long distance relationship.
It is long distance.
Can't do it.
Yeah,
It is.
no, that's too much.
It is long
too
distance.
emotionally trying.
Yeah,
for me.
just
Yeah, you could fly to
Yeah.
San Francisco faster than you could drive west of the 405.
From Venice to the Griffith Park,
Yeah.
to the Greek here.
Yeah.
That's on a Friday or a Saturday. It's like an hour and a half. It's like so. I said my son we were going to go see a concert. I said, well, imagine we're driving to Connecticut.
You should just get a fucking room at that where the 101 coffee shop is. That hotel,
Western,
just
yeah.
like right at Franklin on the 101. Just get a room. It's just because it's just not fun to get across town. Yeah. So here. Actors Gang, people can go. Is it theactorsgang.com or actorsgang.com?
It's theactorsgang.com.
Theactorsgang.com.
www, etc.
And then what is the premiere date for Here and Now? February. Katie will have that. Katie, what is that?
Leah.
February 11th, 9 p.m., probably 8 Central.
Yeah, and okay.
Yeah, whatever you want. Say whatever you want.
Yeah, so New Colossus starts on the 8th in preview, 8th, 9th, 10th. Thursdays through Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Fantastic.
At the Actors Gang Theater, 9070 Venice Boulevard.
Got it.
In Culver City.
In fancy Culver City now.
And Thursdays, by the way, is Pay What You Can. Always has been Pay What You Can. If you're broke and you want to see some theater, come on down. We'll take care of you.
Oh, that's great.
I wish I knew that. I used to live on El Centro, right near the old theater on Santa Monica, and I was just like, I wish I had money to go see shows there. And then after I had moved, or you guys had moved, someone told me about the Thursday. I was like, well, fuck.
Well, now you know.
damn it.
Yeah.
Now we have a
Yeah, now I know.
we have always had that kind of policy because we don't believe that theater should be just for people that are wealthy. It's essential that it be about what the community wants. So
Fantastic. And then, of course, you'll be reprising your role as young George Kennedy in Nazi Germany on a very special episode of The Love Boat, which now I have to look up because I'm fascinated.
I was brilliant.
I would imagine.
I was brilliant on the Love Boat.
I would.
Did you do a George Kennedy impression, or did you just assume how he was? And
No, he was there. I could actually study him.
oh, nice.
Yeah, he was with Cloris Leachman, so it was like their
really
flashback from their relationship. I can't believe how much we're talking about the Love Boat.
Did you?
It's just, can I talk about Hervé Villechaize?
Yes, of course. Was he on that episode?
He was in Tapeheads. Don't you remember?
Oh my God, that's right.
yeah.
Please talk about Hervé Villechaize.
Oh no! Just it was the greatest movie because there were all these people coming in doing these one days, from Don Cornelius,
Yep.
to Hervé Villechaize,
Weird Al.
to Weird Al Yankovic, to Jello Biafra
Yep.
from Dead Kennedys,
Yep.
who else? I don't know. There's so many weird, fucking great people. Devo was in that.
Wasn't it Sam and Dave?
Sam and no.
Who were the swanky modes?
Sam Moore.
Yeah.
And Junior Walker.
Junior Walker. Got it.
They
got
were
it, got
from
it.
two separate
groups. Then they were the Swanky Modes.
They were the Swanky
This is the
Modes.
fucking best band name
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, I have a poster still.
Oh, come on.
Swanky Modes live.
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. That movie's been. I've been hearing people talk about that a lot lately. So it might be like this, like, synergy or.
People should go back and watch it.
Thing. Come on, tape heads.
Yeah. Robbins, Cusack, an unstoppable duo. Yeah. Oh, and then this is just me gushing you a little bit. I fucking the High Fidelity, the Ian character in High Fidelity is fucking great.
Yeah, that was fun to do.
Was that based off of guys in Venice? Because when I used to work at a record store in Venice, and those world music guys.
John asked me to do this cameo, and I said I will do it if you give me a wig that I get to keep. And I basically want to base my character on Steven Seagal.
I'm so glad I brought that up.
Ah, shit.
But a super, super new agey, sensitive Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
That's who I want to play.
That's the best piece of information I've heard in a very long time. Thanks, Tim Robbins. Good to see you, man.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Enjoy your burrito, everyone.
ID 10T scanning complete. Enjoy your burrito.